And then it's going to give us a party select. In here, we're going to want Dagger, Aiko, and the Quina is in the slot 4 from earlier. Finally, the portal to Terra is pretty much dead ahead. We'll have to angle ourselves a little bit to the left. It's this little island, pretty much just straight ahead of us. You can enter it from any height, funnily enough. And then mash through, and there's going to be a dialogue, an option say, do you want to go in? You say yes. Option 1, and mash through. We'll get another party select after Dagger comes in. We're going to cancel out of this one. Quick dialogue box when we get in, and then we're going to just walk forward. So I don't know the best way to manage this bit on D-pad yet, but I've been having success by just holding up. Sometimes. I think analog is maybe the way to go there, but I don't really know. So everything that happens in terms of encounters here you want to flee from. There are hecties, which are weird pink blobs with shitloads of eyes all over them. They are undead, so you can use an elixir. You can use life with Aiko. If you have the rebirth ring, you can also use life with Dagger to kill them instantly. The way that the most utility that they provide to a standard run is they will make sure that Zidane hits level 34 for the end game. Now, what this actually means is that Zidane will be level 30 when you fight Shell Dragon, which sounds better than being level 29, but if you're really trying to press for a good time, it means that your health is slightly higher, and you actually have slightly less chance of being put into the range of HP that we want for Shell Dragon. But the trade-off is that you'll be a higher level when you get to Death Guys, and it actually equates to nearly 200 HP, which is a couple extra rolls on Meteor, which can be the difference between living and surviving. My general rule of thumb is that if I find a Hectise without Rebirth Ring, and I have no Rebirth Ring for the route, I will opt to kill it. As long as I'm not like... If Zidane has instant ATB and I'm waiting for someone to come around with the life, I won't do it. But if like Quina has instant ATB, I'd consider throwing an elixir if I had plenty. So this is a Hectise. These are undead. So in this scenario, for me, personally, the way that I manage this scenario, if I didn't have Rebirth, I would just cast Life on it. But because we do have Rebirth today, I don't really want to do this. So I'm just going to try and get a flee check. Nice. That was actually quite lucky. There is also an argument for ending the fight instantly because it would stop him from having a turn. It's literally however you want to handle it. I suppose in that particular instance, it probably is better just to kill it. But we got the quick flee anyway, so it actually saved the most amount of time. So once you get right to these stairs, don't go too close because it will push you into the next room. You must do this menu before you go any further. We're going to go into our equipment and we're going to strip Quina from top to bottom. And then we're going to take... You only need to take her chest and her wrist. The bandana is worth almost nothing, and the ruby is worth 1 gil, so they're just not even worth selling. As for Dagger, we're going to take everything, go to her accessory, and we're going to press R1 once and put the feather boots on her. R1 to Aiko, pop the Multina racket on, and we're good to go. So some notes don't realize, but the feather boots... Actually, what I think other routes do is they don't buy the magic racket. So by having auto float on Dagger, she's able to deal more damage to herself. I believe that's why they actually equip auto float. Either that or they don't realize that the feather boots actually absorb earth. So you don't need to use auto float in order to survive Shell Dragon's earth ability, which is the reason why we're putting the feather boots on her in the first place. So we'll leave them where they are. And we'll leave auto float off. Because we bought a magic racket, Dagger shouldn't have an issue killing herself later on. Flip for Bran Bal. We'll have a quick party select here. We have to replace Dagger that's left. Just grab Vivi and be on your way. A bit of dialogue. We're going to first off proceed into this inn over here. Pass through some more dialogue. Awesome with Aiko, and then we're going to take control of Zidane again. Going to push us back into the main square. And then you want to head out and north to the right of this girl to avoid colliding with her. Press right, up right, then down this staircase. Now, in the bottom corner over here is an elixir. Grab that. That's going to help you out. And now, if you really want to save the frames, you want to talk to Mikoto from the top, so that Stan doesn't have to walk quite so far. And then, after a bit of dialogue, you can chase after her. Head up the stairs, just run straight through her. More dialogue. And then before we take care of Aiko in a moment. So, after this dialogue, we'll notice that Aiko does a big nod. That's her last text box. And then we can move. Careful when moving through here, because Freya is actually an inn now. You don't want to do that. But you do want to get this elixir, and that's going to help out. Head back out. Wrap round over here. And in this little corner here are some angel earrings. We're going to want to grab these. Head up through here. And then we're going to go into this second door on the right. Just hold up right and mash, and this will give you the wing edge in this chest. And then you want to answer this. You can answer it from the right angle, and Aiko won't move quite so far as well if you want. Whatever. The Moogle will pop out, have one dialogue box. Move over to him, and you want to do a Mog Shop. Now, this is where the game tells you how well you've done your menus. Because if you've done some really good menus, your stuff will be in the right place. So R1, R1. Magician's Shoes should be here. Angel Earrings should be here. Ah, I messed up a little bit somewhere. Probably because of the black belt. They should always end up in these two slots. The Magician's Shoes ends up in this slot more often than the Angel Earrings ends up here. But the Angel Earrings shouldn't be much further up than maybe a couple slots. But it will be roughly 2 R1s down. After that, I'm going to go to buy. There are 2 ways to do this menu. The way that I do it is R1, up, up, buy an Orahulken. R1, down, down, buy 2 coronets. Alternatively, what you can do is you can R1 twice, buy 2 coronets, L1, up, up, and buy an Orahulken. Whichever one you prefer. Basically the same thing. So, 1 dagger and 2 hats. A little bit different to the PC menu as they do a lot more selling there, which I'm not very familiar with. They have to buy more stuff in order to make up some damage from not having as high levels. So, more dialogue. Proceed up. Talk to Mikoto. We get into this room with Zidane. And now, as soon as you spawn in, you want to do a menu. Nice and quick though, so don't worry. So go to equips. We're going to optimize. Going to put on all the new stuff that we bought. We're going to go to our accessory, R1 down, Thomas piece, and then we're going to put a power vest on as well. Abilities, R1. So normally counter would be on, so you down right to get to that. Turn that off if you're level 27. If you're level 26 like us, you just go straight down to level up. Put that on, L1, take Devil Killer off. And you're supposed to put Bird Killer on here. But because we're level 26, we haven't quite got the crystals for it. That's okay. We can just take Distract off. Distract's not incredibly important right here. It's useful, but it's more manageable without it. Mash through all this shit. What is our time? Alright, we're in 10 hours. That's okay. Needs to get to Lich within 2 in-game hours. Yeah, you got to manually move during all this section, unfortunately. Cool. So, coming up is YANA. I'm going to do a little save state. Everyone's favorite bit. So these fights, the first 2 fights are fairly linear. Haven't really got to worry about too much. Abadon is different to the routes that we used to run. These days, we just sit still and wait for Freya to come in. The first thing he's going to do is cast Bio on us. And then he's going to take flight. So we're going to sit tight and let that happen. Make sure you're not holding ATB or anything like that and stopping him from having turns. Then he's going to take off, and that's going to cue Freya to come in. Then we're going to swing with Zidane. Hopefully going to deal enough damage. You can low roll here. If you do, just finish off with Freya. And now, what we need to do is we want to end this fight with only Freya and Amarant alive. That's because these next 3 encounters, this one included, they give, compared to where we are, a lot of experience. And as I'm sure you're aware by now, we only really gain experience throughout this run on forced encounters like these. These fights are going to be the ones that get Freya and Amarant pretty much dead on to level 24. So we don't need to worry about that. The usual way that you deal with this is you wait for Zidane to come back round. Amdusias will have a turn. Normally Zidane and Freya have Distract on. Amarant doesn't, unfortunately, so he's quite susceptible. If Amarant goes down, just have Freya pick him up and then wait another turn. Eventually, Amdusias will land. That counts as an entire turn. So we're actually in a really cool situation here because we're level 26 and we took a good amount of damage from that bio. Freya could actually kill Zidane for us, but she didn't. It's worth a shot. I haven't had that work yet. Okay, so you see him land. I'm going to reload that so I can talk about it better. So normally what you'll do is you'll wait for Zidane to come back round, and you'll see Amdusias is hopefully going to do the same RNG. No, he didn't. Okay, so if this happens, you'll have Amarant just pick up Freya. Going back in. Okay, so he's going to have his turn. Amarant's turn should come back round well before Amdusias, so we're going to have Zidane cue a suicide. And we're going to have Amarant throw the wing edge. This is really important. I have lost runs because I threw the Rising Sun. Throw the wing edge. Hold ATB as well just to make sure that it does go down. Perfect. I've not had that low roll yet. I don't think it can, but you never know. And that's Amdusias. On this fight, there isn't too much going on. If Steiner has good ATB, which he hasn't done, you want to make him change to the back row. 1, it stops him from taking so much damage, and 2, it means that you'll skip a small bit of dialogue as well. Okay, cool. So because he's got Distract on, he's got a really good chance to avoid these things. Just leave Winner as he is, let him just chill. So this is going to be a high wind. I'm going to show you something else that Steiner can do as well after this. So if, hopefully, you set up Steiner correctly, because he's got the Coral Ring and the Coral Sword on, he can attack himself to heal himself to full. But because he's got Distract on, he's got a good chance of missing. So you can take turns like that to try and attack yourself and give yourself your health back. You haven't really got too much to lose. But let's say, for example, the turns prior to that put Steiner into critical. I wouldn't gamble that. I would actually just throw an elixir on myself to give myself full HP. But because I was only missing a little bit, I can kind of like, you know, gamble a little bit and try and bank on giving myself some HP to top myself off. It's not a big deal that I missed. So we're going to swing with Zidane here. It's always a good idea that if Zidane swings and you've got Steiner's ATB surely behind it, just hold on to ATB with Steiner, because if you crit and deal max damage, you can actually finish off with Steiner's attack. But we didn't, so we're going to just hang on to this ATB and keep Steiner available. Thundaga on Steiner is good. We've got the Coral Ring, so we're going to absorb that. Okay, so we low rolled twice, so unfortunately, hopefully, nice. You can use Steiner to finish off if you low roll twice with Zidane. Keep in mind he doesn't have accuracy plus, so he can miss. Shoutouts to Run Yuri. Cool. On to the final fight. So, Shell Dragon is a bit more complicated because we do not use Rebirth in this fight anymore. So instead, you're going to need your Petro notes here. I would highly suggest taking the notes from her document and putting them into whatever notes you're using if you're using your own notes, so that you know at all times how much damage you can receive. This is really important because it's really important that you know what risks you're taking at any point. We need Shell Dragon to put us into critical. There are a couple ways that we can manipulate damage. We can defend, we can flee, or we can do a combination of the both. Or, of course, we can heal. He cannot open with the ability Smash. Smash is the one that instantly reduces us to 1 HP. He can never do that on turn 1. He can only do it from turn 2 onwards, I believe. Maybe turn 3. Charge is the one that we want to see him do turn 1, and we want to get hit by quite a high roll. If we see him doing charge, we're going to hold flee. We're going to hold flee anyway. If he starts doing Earthshake, what you can do is you can queue a Lapis Lazuli on yourself. And what that will do is it will bring your HP back up above the threshold so that you can't be killed by the next turn's charge. And it's quicker than using a high potion. So this fight's going to start. I'm going to hold flee. The maximum amount of damage it can deal is 1680 something, I think. And we're going to get hit by a charge. And we've been hit for 982, so we are below 1000. So I'm going to hit defend, and I'm going to start fleeing again. The maximum amount of damage I can take here is 816. As soon as my ATB fills, I'm going to hold ATB, and there we are. He's put us into critical. Before I proceed with the rest of the fight, though, I want to do a few more of these, because there is a lot of scenarios that can happen. And I want to roll the ATB a little bit. So let's see what happens this time. So we always open with holding flee. So only ever if he opens with Earthshake are we going to go ahead and use a Lapis. And this only works once as well. If he does this again, the Lapis won't have the same effect because Lapis heal for the amount that were in your inventory when you used it. This is going to give us a 200 HP boost like that. So as long as we get one more tick. There you go. That could have actually have killed us. I think the max roll is 16, 17 or something. And we had just below that. But slim chance. It's the sort of gamble that you want to take. If you use a high potion, you'll go back up to full HP. I may have held ATB a little bit too long while I was doing that, which stopped us from getting the extra tick. Actually, more likely. Let's try another one. But right, let's try this. Depending on the amount of damage that you take from the Earthshake as well can affect it. Because you can take either 440 or 600 or 580. There's like a damage range. So the max amount of damage you can deal is 1600. So we're above it now, I believe. Yeah. I believe we're getting the same seed currently, though. I'm going to fast forward and try and move my RNG pointer a little bit. So it looks like Lapis are 3 R1s down. I'm going to hold flee. Yeah, this is a different seed because we've got instant ATB this time. Charge is going to come in. And that was a really nice roll. I think that was pretty much max damage. But straight into critical. We're actually getting some really good fights at the moment. These are kind of rare. Roll it a bit. Okay, holding flee again. Charge is going to come in. Okay, so if we defend here, the maximum amount of damage we can take is 516 for a charge and 600 for a Earthshake. So we're going to let ATB flow. I'm not going to flee here because otherwise we would have died. But all of these numbers are available to you in Petro's notes. So don't do this blind based on what I'm doing right now. You should look at these values and keep them next to you while you're doing this fight. It's really important that you do that. Right, as for the rest of the fight, it's nice and easy. It takes 4 attacks to kill. Criticals count for 2. You must not let Dagger survive if you can help it. If Dagger survived through Hilgigas, she will have access to the ability to protect, which you should be using. The benefit that this has over using Rebirth is that you start the turn right there with instant ATB. That's one of the reasons why this is better than killing yourself to activate Dagger's trigger. We actually get an additional attack on Shell Dragon before the fight really starts. So we're only really looking for 3 good turns. If you've learnt Protect, it's going to be 2 R1s down. It should be here. But our Dagger actually died on Hilgigas, so it's not the end of the world. We're just going to leave her as is. If Zidane gets smashed on this turn, we're going to use her to heal him up. Earthshake's fine. So because we've dealt 3,000 damage or so, he's got at least 9k left. So we can't kill this turn even with a critical. So we're happy to swing. And we'll leave Dagger open. Nice. So next turn, we could kill with a critical. The worst case scenario here is that Zidane gets smashed. If that happens, like this, unfortunately, is that it's not a good idea to attack. It's a bad idea to attack here. So you probably want to just leave this turn open. So an Earthshake here means that we will be able to survive no matter what happens next turn. So we can have Dagger kill herself, and we can have Zidane swing. You need to be playing around criticals in this fight. So we're good, and then we can swing for lethal. 4 attacks with Zidane will always do it. As long as you left that accuracy plus on, you didn't unequip it for some silly reason, you can't miss, so don't worry about that. And that's that. That should put us on level 33. We'll fast forward through this. Now, heal up Zidane. If you got nobles, you don't really need to pick these boots off of Dagger. If you didn't get nobles, I would recommend grabbing them.